So here we are at the third and most likely final part of the video. It's a cold day here today, rainy. Typical Newfoundland day. We have our draw knife here, which the handles, the epoxy set up wonderfully. Super solid, completely immovable. I've taped up the handles because what we're going to do first here now is a nice, the final sharpening we say. And that takes a little bit of grinding, and grinding like that can get real messy. And with untreated handles, and you got all that black metal being rubbed off, it can get everything in a state. Just that raw wood will take in that black grit, and you'll never get it out unless you really sand those handles back down. So tape them up to keep them nice and squeaky clean, and we're going to get to work on sharpening. So I've got a bit of sandpaper here, and I've sprayed a little bit of craft adhesive on my jointer table. This is the end of a jointer table here, and I'm hoping that my cloth will stick to the craft adhesive. If it will, then this will be a perfect flat surface for sanding the back of my draw knife. So we'll see here now in a minute. And if we remember the finish on that draw knife, I'm just going to use non-directional strokes now, so just all over the place. You create a very mixy pattern in the steel, because just directional strokes are very hard to get out. You'll always see them in a final finish. So I'm just going to move around like so. I'm going to work the back of this draw knife for a little while until we get a nice hazy finish. Here now I'm working on a piece of 100 grit. I believe the emery cloth we started off with first was probably down around maybe a 60 grit, an 80 grit. Really coarse, just to take out those scratch patterns. And now we have some 100 grit, which is still quite coarse compared to the end product, but it should give a nice hazy finish. Let me show you what we have here now. So you get an idea. This draw knife is plenty sharp to use here now. You're able to use it with no problems, and it would perform pretty good. But we're taking it beyond that, of course. So I'm going to keep working on here, probably 320 or 400 grit for the next step. So now that I've been able to use that jointer table and use a lot of weight to get that edge just like I want it, good flat edge, and being able to use that extra weight on the sandpaper made it a little faster. We have a real nice finish here now. Really flat, dull finish, you can see. Kind of mixy, right? But a nice clean look. Now I'm going to switch over to the rooster method. If I think about it, I'll throw a link up here somewhere for the rooster method. Really nice. You just use this sanding disc in certain motions, like I've explained on other videos, and it gives you, it's a much lighter touch you use with it, but it's great for giving you a nice uniform finish, especially working up to a real high grit, because I've got some high grit sandpapers here and stuff. So I'm just going to work now lightly. I'm starting with 100 grit on the rooster method. Nice light strokes, get that nice pattern we're looking for. Here now we have a gorgeous, just gorgeous 2000 grit finish off the method I was showing you. This is 2000 grit. Man, doesn't that look pretty. Hasn't been stropped yet. See the back side here, that lovely color, look at that. I'm just going to throw it on the felt wheel with a little bit of compound on the bench grinder. Man, just look at that. And that'll really set it off. When I was on my way to pick up a few old tools recently, I was talking to a guy on Facebook. He sent me a few pictures of some tools he had. He sent me a picture of this draw knife, and I thought it was neat. It was really rusty and in hard shape. And the picture made it look, I think, even a tad worse. And he told me how much he wanted for it. And I was interested, but I told the wife on the way out to pick it up, or to pick up some other tools. I said, I'm not going to have the draw knife. I said, it's a bit out of my price range right now, but I said, the only way I would have it, I said, is the small chance, the freak chance that it would be either a Witherby or a Sorby. I said, something like that I couldn't pass up. I'd have to get something like that, and she agreed. Okay, if it's that special, then you'd get it. And sure enough, when I got there, wiped away a little bit of rust, and it was a Sorby. And it is lovely. Check out that polish there now. See if I can get some good light on it for you. Just look at that. Old antique beauty. Just look at that. Man, I love that so much. Nothing like a nice razor sharp draw knife. You see how dirty those handles are there now. I'm sure glad I covered them up. I'm going to clean off this worktop, and then we'll get to treating the handles. So I've got my edge taped up, and I've got the draw knife clamped here to the table. Now if you remember, those brass fittings were left pretty rough on the outside edge. So what I'm going to do now is get some good 400 grit paper, just some small pieces, and file it just like this. I'm not sure what 400 grit will look like. I'll have to wait until after I sand it down, and then if I feel like going finer I will, but I'm going to start with 400. And I can already see the 400 is going to be a bit coarse for what I want, so I'll go up in the grit after this, but I'll clean it up with 400 grit first to help me move along a little bit faster. Yeah, brass cleaned up beautifully. That is 400 grit. Oh, what a nice finish. We are about 30 seconds from finishing this project. All is left is to treat that beautiful birch. I have some stuff chosen here. It's called Colonial Maple. It's got a bit of a reddish tone to it, which is what I'm looking for here. Are you ready? Try to keep it off the brass as much as I can. I can and probably will refinish the brass, touch it up, because I'm thinking this dial stained the brass. I'm not sure. You know, brass is pretty soft, can be pretty finicky sometimes. Love that color. When I think of a classic draw knife with that beautiful brass, this is the color I have in mind. Oh, that is a beautiful finish. Beautiful. Nice and natural still. It doesn't look too orange or too modified. Still has that nice color of birch. Just darkened a little bit to give it some richness. Let's get the other one here. I'm glad I chose to keep that birch, even with the the bit of burl and the bit of inconsistency that was in there, because now with the final product it gives it some uniqueness, gives it some character. Doesn't have that perfect look. It looks like wood, it looks natural, and I really like it at this point. Now you could give these a few coats and they'd probably darken a little more each time. I'm just going to do one coat because that's just the color I want it there. Wipe off any excess. Just look at that color. Now the very last step, what else but a little bit of boiled linseed oil. This is the finishing touches on all my wood products. I've been thinking about switching over to maybe Danish oil or teak oil or something. If you have any experience with it, let me know down below what your opinions are on the different oils. I think I'd like to have something that's not quite as strong in fumes and such, not quite as strong vapor from it, and not quite as flammable. Boiled linseed oil is extremely flammable, and you've got to be real mindful what you're doing with your empty rags that I'm going to use here now, and what you're doing with your gloves, because if you just throw it down in the garbage bin, next thing you know it could be up in flames. And that's no exaggeration. I've heard a lot of stories about people burning down their shops and stuff with boiled linseed oil. So I love what boiled linseed oil does to the wood, but I'm wondering if there's something that'll do an equivalent job, but without the stress. You ready for the final look? Are you ready for the final product? Here it is. Boy, am I proud of that. Maybe one of my favorite restorations yet. It just turned out in every way just better than I could have expected. I didn't expect to get those handles that identical. This brass was an idea. I was hoping it worked out and it would work out, and it just worked out phenomenally. The color on that birch, the edge, the sharpening. This is a tool to last a lifetime. I don't think those handles will ever move. The birch was real dry when I did it, so I can't imagine there'll be much change in it. Razor sharp edge. Very happy with this project. If you liked it, please hit the like button. Comment down below, tell me your favorite thing about it. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, guys. Get your own tools, save these old rusty tools from being lost or thrown away. Save them, invest in them. You'll have tools that last a lifetime. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.